Ever felt like you're just, I don't know, teetering right on the edge?
Oh, absolutely.
Like one more thing, another annoying email, some unexpected news, you might just completely fall apart.
Yeah, like you're holding it all together with tape.
Exactly. Maybe you feel like Emily in the research, who's usually so tough but suddenly found herself spiraling. Or that CEO who apparently just lost it and screamed at his team.
It's a feeling so many people recognize today, isn't it? The world's moving incredibly fast, throwing constant challenges, and, well, sometimes our usual ways of coping just don't cut it anymore.
Right. So today we're doing a deep dive into why our old ideas about resilience might be, frankly, pretty outdated for what some people are calling the chaos era.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission here is to explore a totally new approach, something beyond just bouncing back. We're talking about actually growing forward, becoming shatterproof.
And we're drawing on some fascinating work by an organizational psychologist, looking at her extensive research, including stories from CEOs, parents, even her own life story.
Yeah, the goal is really to give you some clarity, maybe even find the words for feelings you've been wrestling with.
And what we're going to unpack is, I think, pretty transformative. It's the surprising science behind thriving in the 21st century. We'll need to challenge some long-held beliefs, some myths about resilience.
Definitely. And then we'll lay out a practical 4-step roadmap to help turn that stress, those setbacks, into real personal growth.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this chaos era, what are we actually talking about? We've got accelerating digital disruption, geopolitical instability is just everywhere, natural disasters seem more frequent, economic volatility.
It's not just one big thing hitting us, it's the combination, right? These sort of phased transition events where small shifts cause huge disruptions, and then you have compound extremes, multiple crises happening at the same time.
Like a hurricane during a pandemic or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of that creates this chronic, kind of relentless stress that feels different. It feels new.
Yeah. That really begs the question, why are we struggling so much with this reality?
Well, there's a great analogy in the research about the Canadian spruce budworm epidemic back in the 70s. For centuries, forests recovered from these outbreaks, no problem.
Oh.
But then conditions changed. Milder winters, drier springs, different forest management, even pesticides like DDT. Suddenly, the tree's natural defenses just weren't enough. The whole ecosystem got pushed to its breaking point.
So like those forests, our own defenses are failing under new conditions.
Precisely. Our ancient human survival systems think Stan the caveman running from a tiger. They are, as the author puts it, woefully ill-designed for the constant, unpredictable stressors we face today.
Our biological hardware is just too old for the modern world software updates. It really feels like that sometimes.
Totally. And one huge design flaw is this idea that bad is bigger than good. Our brains are essentially wired to fixate on the negative. We crave positivity, but the negative stuff just grabs our attention much more strongly.
Right, like Stan facing the tiger, that was intense stress, but it was temporary, acute. Tiger gone, threat gone.
Exactly. But now, the bad feels constant. Traffic jams, climate anxiety, work pressure, news cycles. It plunges us into this chronic stress because the perceived threat never really turns off.
So the key insight isn't just negativity bad, it's that our brains are hardwired to give it extra weight. Just thinking positive isn't really enough, is it?
Not on its own, no. You have to actively work against that bias. And this constant state leads right into the cortisol conundrum.
Ah, cortisol, the stress hormone.
Right. Living in that perpetual fight or flight mode, fueled by adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, it just completely drains our coping resources. It burns through them.
Which explains why someone like Anne in the book, already stressed, just completely shut down like an overheated iPhone after a minor fender bender. Her system wasn't just stressed, it was overloaded.
Yeah, the battery was dead.
And this next point really blew my mind. The anarchy of uncertainty. Our brains see uncertainty itself as a huge danger.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is. Worrying about a bad outcome like maybe losing your job or that study with a 50-50 chance of an electric shock, that worry can be more stressful than actually getting the shock or losing the job.
It's called the certainty over comfort effect. We'd almost rather know something bad is definitely happening than live with the uncertainty of it maybe happening.
Wow. Okay, so that really challenges our usual ideas about resilience, doesn't it? This whole eternal virtue thing, the idea of just bouncing back.
It does. And the author's own research, which actually came out of her personal struggles with chronic pain and exhaustion, really questioned if bouncing back is the right goal or even what happens most often.
What did she find?
Her study showed resilience didn't consistently predict whether people actually became better or stronger after a crisis. It often helped them function better than expected during it, sure, but it rarely led to those big sweeping transformations or getting to a higher level of functioning than before the crisis hit.
Okay, so let's tackle some of these myths head on. Myth number one, resilience is about bouncing back to normal.
Right. But, like we just said, the research suggests it rarely leads to that kind of transformative growth. Most studies just aim for getting back to normal, not actually becoming, stronger or better than before.
Just getting back to baseline.
Pretty much. And then there's myth two. Resilience is a choice. Like, you can just decide to be tougher.
Yeah, just grit your teeth.
But the studies show resilience training often gives only small boosts. And one study even found it could harm mental health for some people, which brings up this really damaging idea called grit gaslighting.
Grit gaslighting. What's that?
It's like the story of Jan described as this confident, badass MBA-wielding woman. Her son had ongoing problems, and doctors, friends, family basically told her the issue wasn't her son, it was her inability to cope.
Oh, that's awful. So they blamed her for not being resilient enough.
Exactly. Instead of validating her very real distress, they question her ability to handle it. That leads to so much shame and self-doubt.
I can imagine. Okay, and myth number three, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. The famous Nietzsche line.
Yeah, turns out that's often not true either. It can actually make being resilient harder next time.
Really?
Think about Nietzsche himself. Less than a month after publishing that famous line, he saw a horse being beaten, had some kind of breakdown right there, and apparently never fully recovered mentally.
Wow, I didn't know that backstory.
It's quite tragic, and it illustrates that resilience isn't this bottomless well of strength. It gets depleted each time we use it, especially if we've already been through a lot.
So it's like a finite resource.
Exactly. And this myth can be particularly harmful for marginalized groups. There's the example of Simranjeet Singh, who was told a tough work week should be easy for him because he'd faced racism and bigotry, which is obviously much worse. It just dismisses current pain.
That makes sense. It kind of invalidates what someone's feeling right now.
Yeah.
So this depletion leads to the idea of hitting the resilience ceiling.
Precisely. Think about stretching a rubber band over and over. Does it get stronger?
No, it gets worn out, brittle. Eventually it snaps.
Same with us. The resilience ceiling is that point where you've stretched as far as you can, you've hit your limit, and even a small setback can feel like the breaking point.
And for high achievers, people who pride themselves on toughness, hitting that ceiling can feel really shocking, even shameful.
Absolutely. It contradicts their self-image.
So how do you know if you're getting close to your resilience ceiling? What are the signs?
There are a few key clues. One is lost mojo, just a real drop in energy, motivation. You might feel like balancing everything is more exhausting than I can remember.
Okay, feeling drained. What else?
Little things feel big. You find yourself getting disproportionately worked up over minor stuff. Like, why did you just explode about how your partner loads the dishwasher?
Whoa, been there.
Haven't we all? And the third sign is when your top tools are failing. Those go-to coping strategies, maybe exercise, meditation, talking to a friend, they suddenly feel like another chore, not a source of relief.
Like, I should meditate, but I just don't have the energy.
Exactly that feeling. And what's tricky here is the illusion of strength. We tend to overestimate how well we're actually coping.
How so?
Well, one survey found 83% of Americans rated themselves as highly resilient. But when tested using validated measures, only 57% actually scored high.
That's a big gap.
It is. It points to this skin-deep resilience, putting on a brave face while crumbling inside, like Baraton Thurston hiding his pain after a bike accident as a kid, or Nabila managing a huge work project during her divorce, concealing my pain like a boss.
The spoon analogy fits perfectly here, doesn't it?
It really does. We all start with a certain number of resilient spoons. Some people might start with more than others, but it's always a limited supply.
And every stressor, every coping effort uses up a spoon.
Right. And eventually you run out. So the big takeaway here is crucial. When your usual coping tools aren't working, the answer isn't to push harder. It's often to actually do less, to offload things where you can.
That's such a counterintuitive message in our hustle culture. Don't grit harder, actually step back.
It's a fundamental shift. And it opens the door to something beyond just endurance.
Which is moving beyond just surviving stress to actually
Right.
remaking ourselves, channeling setbacks into growth.
Exactly. Even really traumatic experiences can, for some people, lead to what's called post-traumatic growth, finding a new appreciation for life, feeling stronger in different ways, having deeper relationships.
So this shatterproof approach isn't about avoiding pain, but transforming it.
Yes. And the practices involved are designed to replenish your mental resources, not drain them further. So you end up feeling more energized, not less. It's moving from surviving to truly thriving.
And the core mindset shift is realizing the cost of not changing, right?
Definitely. Look at nature. The dodo couldn't adapt to new threats, and, well, we know how that ended. But the tawny owl adapted its coloring to a changing climate, and its population grew.
Adapt or become a museum piece.
Basically, yes. In a world that's constantly changing, reinvention is key to prospering.
Okay, so how do we do this? Step one is probe your pain, which sounds painful.
It can be, initially, because we're so conditioned to push pain away, right? We think successful coping means keeping a stiff upper lip, the pain paradox.
And sometimes you get that toxic positivity thing where people tell you to just look on the bright side when you're feeling awful.
Or at the extreme end, your body might just involuntarily shut down that freeze or faint response Stephen Porges talks about when fighting or fleeing isn't an option.
But this approach says don't push it away. Treat pain as data, as a signal.
Exactly. Psychological pain is almost always telling you about an unmet psychological need. The author talks about her own experience hitting her resilience ceiling. She started just dumping everything onto paper, physical symptoms, then emotions.
What kind of words came out?
Things like confused, afraid, scared, unheard, unseen, victimized, helpless, crazy, just raw feelings. And then, crucially, she wrote, "This is not me."
Ah, a turning point.
A huge one. That process helped her understand what the pain was actually signaling. And a key part of this step is taking charge of your narrative. Are you the victim in your story or the victor? Using empowering words like choice and opportunity can genuinely boost your energy and well-being.
Okay, so listen to the pain, understand its message, and reframe the narrative. Then step two, trace your triggers to unmet needs.
Right. Triggers are those tipping points, those things that flip you instantly from feeling okay to decidedly not okay.
We usually think of triggers as things to avoid.
And sometimes that's necessary. But they can also be incredible opportunities to explore why we react so strongly and what underlying need isn't being met.
Like the author's example of getting really angry when a friend canceled dinner because of the new cat. Seems like an overreaction.
On the surface, yes, but she asked herself, when else have I felt like this? And that question led her back to a deep childhood wound about feeling excluded and unimportant. That old pain was being triggered decades later by a seemingly minor event.
Wow, okay. So what are these core unmet needs we should be looking for?
The research highlights 3 fundamental psychological needs, the 3 to thrive needs: confidence, choice, and connection.
Confidence, choice, connection. Okay, break those down.
Confidence is that feeling that you're competent, you're effective, you're learning and growing. When that's blocked, you get self-doubt.
Makes sense.
Choice is about feeling autonomous, like you can make your own decisions, express your true self, act in line with your values. When that's thwarted, you feel controlled, helpless, trapped.
Got it. And connection.
Connection is that sense of belonging, of feeling close to others, having mutual support and understanding. When that's missing, you feel lonely, isolated, rejected.
So the process is notice when you get triggered, observe your reactions, thoughts, feelings, body sensations, behaviors, and then ask that question, when else have I felt like this? To connect it to the deeper unmet need.
Exactly. That helps you understand the root cause, not just the surface reaction.
Okay, which leads nicely into step 3, spot your shadows.
Hmm.
This draws on Carl Jung.
Yes. Our shadows are those instinctive, often less socially acceptable reactions like sudden rage, insecurity, crippling perfectionism that tend to pop up when our core needs for confidence, choice, or connection are threatened.
And these shadows lead to shadow goals. What are those?
Shadow goals are like subconscious quick fixes. They're shortcuts we take to try and get a temporary hit of self-worth, power, or approval when we feel lacking. Think comfort eating, excessive people-pleasing, chasing external validation.
Like carbs smothered in cheese, as the book says.
Ah, yes, that kind of thing. They give a brief sense of relief, but they ultimately drain our energy and don't actually fulfill the underlying need. And they're strongest when we're tired and our willpower is low.
The Nathan Chen example of the Olympics fits here, right? The pressure to win gold, became a shadow goal.
Perfectly. Winning gold became this prove shadow goal, focused on external achievement and rewards, and it led to crushing waves of dread for him. It was only when winning gold was mathematically impossible that the pressure lifted. He reconnected with his love for skating, his intrinsic motivation, and performed freely.
And these shadow goals show up as shadow habits.
Right, the tangible behaviors, like the author's rabbit in the road story. After being sick for months, she developed the shadow habit of giving in, feeling helpless. Seeing that rabbit frozen in the headlights triggered that habit. Her first instinct was, it's hopeless.
But she didn't give in.
This time, no. She made a different choice, consciously overcame that urge, got out, and saved the rabbit. It was a small act, but a massive turning point in reclaiming her sense of agency, breaking that shadow habit.
That's powerful. Okay, so we've probed pain, traced triggers, spotted shadows. Step 4 is pick your pivots, crafting a shatterproof life.
This is where we get proactive. It's about need crafting, actively shaping your life, and choices to meet your core needs, not just passively waiting for circumstances to maybe meet them for you.
And this actually works, even in really bad situations.
Research shows it does.
Right.
Actively crafting your needs boosts mental health, even amidst things like serious financial hardship or even war.
Wow. And the book identifies the Shatterproof 6, 3 key responses that predict growing forward.
That's right. People who grow tend to consistently say things like, 1, I made myself or the situation better. That speaks to confidence. 2, I introspected to understand myself and make more authentic choices. That's choice. And 3, I used the situation to make things better for others or the world, which relates to connection.
So it's about making small, strategic experiments, building new shatterproof habits based on meeting those needs.
Exactly. Like the author with her medical journey, instead of just feeling frustrated by dismissive doctors, she started bringing super detailed, color-coded summaries to her appointments.
Even if it annoyed the doctor.
Even if it annoyed the doctor. It was about her taking control, crafting her need for competence and choice in that situation. And that small act empowered her and led to better self-advocacy overall.
Okay, let's quickly touch on crafting each need. Crafting confidence. It's interesting that our confidence often isn't linked to our actual ability.
Not at all. Josh Groban, multi-platinum artist, felt terrified by self-doubt. Stephanie Sostak, a successful actress, felt she sucked. We also have this thing called meta-perception bias. We tend to think others see us much more negatively than they actually do.
You replay a conversation in your head thinking you sound like an idiot, but the other person barely remembers it.
That's exactly meta-perception. A great tool here is the reflected best self exercise. You ask people who know you well and support you, loving critics, for specific examples of when you're at your best, what your strengths are, how you add value.
Like Grace, the CEO who felt like an imposter.
Yes, doing that exercise helped her internalize that she was, in fact, already an extraordinary CEO. It rebuilt her confidence based on real evidence.
And what about crafting choice? Feeling agency.
It comes down to authenticity. We're wired to want to make our own choices. Choices that come from genuine interest feel empowering. Choices driven by internal pressure, I should, or external pressure, they expect me to, feel controlling and draining.
The Otpor movement in Serbia is a wild example of fostering choice under extreme pressure.
Isn't it? College students using humor and creativity, like letting people smash a barrel with the dictator Milošević's face on it to give people a sense of agency against a murderous regime. They practiced choice support, validating fears, giving information, but emphasizing that people still had choices in how they responded.
What are some practical tools for everyday agency?
The 2-2-2 tool is great when you feel totally overwhelmed. Take a deliberate 48-hour pause. Ask yourself, what do I need in the next 2 minutes? Maybe just permission to cry. What about the next 2 hours? Maybe go to bed early. And the next 2 days, maybe just give yourself permission to give up on solving everything for exactly 2 days. It helps regain a sense of control over time.
I like that, breaking it down.
And also, saying no to mustivation. That feeling you must do something out of obligation or internalized pressure, not real desire. Scott, the burned-out professional, realized his life was full of commitments driven by mustivation. Learning to say no to things that didn't genuinely align with his values or bring joy was key to building a more balanced identity.
Okay, finally, crafting connection. This feels incredibly important today with the loneliness epidemic.
It really is. Modern life, moving more, smaller families, even technology can make deep connection harder. That study finding 22% of Americans reporting zero friends is just staggering.
Wow, zero.
And the research highlights the power of your pair bond, that single deepest connection, your person. Pushing that relationship away when times get tough just makes the disconnection worse.
And difficult times reveal who your true backers are versus the barnacles.
Yeah. Huh. Yes, great terms. Backers show up, no questions asked. Barnacles cling when things are good, but vanish when you actually need support. Paul, facing cancer and his business failing, saw that clearly. The author did too, when she was immunocompromised during the pandemic and found some friends weren't willing to take even small precautions to see her safely. It's a painful but clarifying litmus test.
How can we transform conflict within connections?
Anger often signals a threatened need, like Charlie feeling slighted by his boss Hank. We get stuck in offense rumination, replaying the hurt, and the bad guy's bias, assuming we're blameless and the other person is malicious.
So how do we break that cycle?
The advice is to activate your exploration network. Get curious. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about their motives? What might their perspective be? Shifting from judgment to curiosity can diffuse conflict.
And connection isn't just about people, right? It can be something bigger.
Absolutely. Spirituality, like Helen finding peace by centering her life around God instead of material goals. Connection with nature, with the community, through acts of service.
Like Mama Shu in Detroit.
Such a powerful story. Losing her son Jacoby to violence, she channeled her immense grief into transforming a blighted block into Avalon Village for local kids. Then, tragically, her eldest son was also murdered. But instead of breaking her, the anguish intensified her commitment to serving her community. That service was her connection, transforming unbearable grief into something meaningful, something bearable, and something beautiful.
Just incredible resilience through connection and purpose. So wrapping this all up, what's the core message for someone listening?
I think it's that this journey to become shatterproof isn't linear. It's more like a spiral. Each time you face one of those self-limiting shadows, identify an unmet need, and consciously forge a new shatterproof habit to meet that need, you expand, you grow.
And recognizing that you have the agency, the power to prioritize your own needs, make those different choices, and become, the best version of yourself.
Yes, and realizing that doing that isn't selfish. When you become stronger and more whole, it benefits everyone around you too.
That's a great point.
And what's really inspiring is seeing how this plays out. The author rediscovered her own passion for theater, started a program called the Tasha 10, pouring her energy into something bigger than her struggles. She found new peace and new joy.
And her friend noticed she was more open to taking chances and appreciating the vibrancy of life.
Exactly. Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. Maybe, just maybe, without heartbreak, we can't fully feel joy. Without failure, we can't truly know success. And maybe, without tragedy, we can't find transcendence.
Wow. So it's not about avoiding the hard stuff, but about staring your pain right in the face.
And fighting for that dazzling life that the author suggests lies on the other side of it.
Contact Chris Lehnes of Versant Funding to learn if factoring can provide your business the cash you need to expand.